Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Pantelis.
This is good.
Just to be honest with everyone listening, this podcast would have been launched way ahead of time. But I wanted to make a point for you to be the first one. But you're so damn busy that we had to keep postponing, which is a good thing. I didn't mind.
You got time to build a new studio.
Yeah.
What is this? You have an actual studio.
Yeah. I have so much time right now in my hands that I brought out the hammer, the nails, the saws, and
you actually built soundproofing panels instead of buying them.
Yeah, I did.
You're a real handyman.
It gave me something to do while I was waiting for you to come. But no, I wanted to make a point to have you first because, and this I spoke to you about. I mean, you're kind of the inspiration behind this podcast. And I've been following you for a very long time. And obviously, we're going to talk about the exceptional year you had last year in 2018 and 2019 that has kicked off just spectacular. For you.
Yeah.
But I remember this whole podcasting thing. I mean, I think we sat down, I had called you in 2008 or 2009. I can't remember. I was really into photography and I was seeing that you were, recording this podcast. I had no clue what that was. You were doing this thing with your friends. And I thought, wow, that's going to be fun. Let me just go shoot some pictures. It'll be like a little lifestyle documentary thing or whatever. And we sat down for coffee. And I think that's when you had told me, I'm not sure if you were doing comedy yet or if you were thinking of it or if
I was thinking of it.
Or you had done a few open mics or whatever. And you had told me, yeah, this podcasting thing, man, it's huge and everybody's doing it. And
it's going to get big.
I had no idea what the hell you were talking about. I'm like, what podcast? What is that? And I've been following you since. And obviously since then, the whole comedy thing has taken off. The podcast is absolutely incredible. And I mean, geez, man, it's just a pleasure to just follow you. I mean,
you. Now that you mentioned, you have been there since the beginning. You've been there since my first podcast with my friends.
Yeah.
When podcasting really wasn't a big thing, nobody understood what I was doing. I was like, is it radio? What is this? Is it live? So we grew from that, and I started podcasting 4 years before I ever did an open mic.
Oh wow!
So it's not everybody thinks that I did a podcast just because I was doing comedy.
Yeah.
But it's completely untrue. I was doing radio, podcasting 4 years before I ever thought of going on stage. And then after that, everything just clicked. It just went in together.
Yeah.
And it makes sense.
But did you have any idea that, okay, I want comedy is, that's what it's going to be. So let me just, or it just followed naturally?
No, I always liked I was always the funny guy in the group. I like telling jokes, but I never thought I could do stand-up. I always thought that it was for other people.
Yeah.
So I figured people would tell me, oh, you should go do stand-up. You're funny. And I always thought that was a stupid thing to tell me. Because you hear that about people. You see it at parties. Like, this guy's a funny guy. You should be a comedian. And they should never be comedians. They're idiots, right? So I didn't want to be that guy. But I gave in to peer pressure and harassment. And I said, okay, look, I'll do an open mic. And I'll prove to you guys that I'm not funny on
that
stage.
I suck, yeah.
Yeah. And the opposite happened.
Yeah.
So then I was like, wait a second. Why are these people laughing? What is going on here? And that first month when I started doing stand-up, I got invited to the Comedy Works to do their best of open mics or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I went to the finals in my first month and I lost to a professional comedian.
Yeah.
So then I was like, wait a second.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
If you think of it. Yeah.
If this just happened, if I lost in the finals to a pro and I've been doing this for 3 weeks, there's something to this.
Yeah.
I have something. So then I continued. I fell in love with stand-up. I fell in love with writing jokes, with thinking about jokes, talk about my life on stage, and turn them into something that's palatable for a mass audience. And I never looked back. And the podcast just kind of carried along with it. I learned more techniques. I learned how to speak on the radio, how to create content, videos. I moved on to video editing. I taught myself how to do all that stuff. And now we're here. And it's 12 years since I had first ever started thinking about doing podcasts.
Wow. And comedy, when did you start?
2012. It was April 2012 was an open mic.
That late?
Yeah, I started late.
So then we must have met. It wasn't 2008 then, 2009. We probably met after that.
No, we met that because I started the podcast around 2008 or I think 2008 and maybe 2010.
But I remember you were telling me that you're getting into comedy and that you were going to start. So
and I never did. I never did until 2012.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember. I came to a lot of your shows.
You came to 2013 when, you were the first person, I think, to document it in photos. My first half hour.
There was one in the East End, and then there was one at, where was the other one?
At the Theatre St. Catherine.
Yeah, but there was another one also that I came to. I can't remember which one. Whatever.
Oh, there was also, I think you were there at the Cafe Campus, no? That was 2014, I want to say.
Possibly. I don't know. Oh yeah, that's what. Yeah, campus. Yeah.
2014 or 15, I don't remember, but one of those two.
I don't know. It's going so fast. But 2018, man, what a spectacular year.
Oh yeah, that was it. That was my big year. That was a kind of a culmination of everything that I've worked so hard for, and I finally got to see it.
A lot of people don't understand that there's so much work and sacrifice involved behind anything, right? Like they look at you now, and we're gonna get to what you're doing now, what you did in 2018, but they're like, "Who is this kid?" I mean,
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
I get the it's some kid from Park X. What is this? What's
just
going on?
Came
out of nowhere, and little do they know, nothing I've done has been out of nowhere. The stand-up hasn't been out of nowhere. I've been doing this for years. The podcasting, which everyone's impressed with, is insane to me when they say things like, "Oh, you just started doing a podcast, and then you had this big one." I've been doing it for longer than most kids are alive right now. like your kids weren't alive when I started doing it.
No,
think about it.
I wasn't even married.
Yeah,
it wasn't even an idea.
It's funny because there are I know that there are 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds that listen to it. So I have people that either weren't born or they were 4 years old or when I first started. So I've been doing this for a while. But
it seems that when you hit that point where things just go well and it's like the snowball effect, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
And that's just rapid. At least in your case, I've been following you, and I mean, how do you process this? I mean, it just seems that one thing is stuck to the next, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and it just keeps growing, and it's phenomenal. Well,
it's funny that you say it like that because that's how I feel sometimes. I keep thinking, oh, this is it. This is the pinnacle.
Yeah.
And then something else happens and steps on that, and then something else happens and steps on that, and now I've learned just to shut up and go with the ride
and take it all in.
Yeah.
You're doing this full time now because I remember there was this transitional phase there, and
so I used to work in video games. I used to like working in video games a lot, and then I went on to work in just managing mobile apps, and I've done a lot of different work, all in technology, I guess, before being able to do this full time, and then now it's just it snowballed, it picked up, as soon as we talked about this, as soon as I was able to become my own boss, I think I found my way. Like you get that freedom, and you don't really have to answer to anyone. Like even on my show, it's not like I have to answer to anyone. We're on a network, but they let us do whatever we want.
Yeah.
My jokes, I always talk about my life, so it's not like I have to adhere to any. Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's offensive or not, it's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
These are the facts. So I like not having to answer to anyone. I think that's why a lot of comics become comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just find the situation. But this is the other thing too, though. You have an outlook on things much different than anyone else. Like you're probably going to be at a funeral home, and instead of crying or sympathizing with the people, you're probably thinking, geez, yeah, I can make a couple jokes in here.
I've done that, and I did that recently, actually. I was at a funeral where I was sad. But then just a joke came into my head, and I whispered it to my girlfriend. And then she tried not to laugh.
Yeah, she's like, I'll just go to the bathroom for a second and just laugh by myself where nobody can hear me.
Like, that is crazy. Who says that here? I was like, me. That's who says that. So it does. Yeah, your mind automatically goes to funny. Like, even here, the first thing I did when I saw you, when I came here, I started yelling at you for living here.
You're not the only one. Sometimes I find myself yelling to myself as well.
Yeah, right?
What are you doing here? But no, I mean, we've had this conversation so many times about the suburbs, and it's expensive, man, to live in Montreal.
You tried to trick me into moving here years ago, and you almost succeeded.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it and realized how my life would suck.
It doesn't suck. And here's the thing that I tell people about living in the suburbs. Because, I mean, when we're talking about suburbs, I mean, we're not far away or lost.
You're on another island. What are you talking about?
No, we're not on another island.
This is a different island.
Yeah, but we're just across the shore, But this is how I see it. You want to go to downtown Montreal, at least you're the closest to the center, right? And I guess that's
in terms of being off the island.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah,
the whole premise here is that Montreal is way too expensive. So where do we find a place to live where we can be the closest to the core? Let's say,
this is all your fault. You were in the government for so many years. You should have put a stop to these prices.
Yeah, stop it. No, but see, I mean, I don't know. At least that's one advantage that I see about living here. And I tell my wife all the time, I miss living in Montreal.
Yeah.
We got married and we were living downtown. Like, doesn't get more downtown than that. Like
where you were, you were a beautiful spot too.
You had come, I think, to my.
I hadn't come inside the place, but I know the building. We had spoken about it.
So I loved it, man. And sometimes when I drive through downtown, I miss it, you know. But at the same time, I mean, you know, you have a family now, and you're thinking, there's no way I could raise my kids
next to a crackhead. No, of course not.
yeah, downtown. And it's weird because we grew up in chaos.
But not really. I noticed this about myself. I would not be able to live downtown.
You wouldn't?
Never in a million years.
I would go back to downtown anytime.
Never. I like being downtown. Like if I'm in a different city, I'm in a hotel, like I'm doing a gig or something.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, that's where you want to be.
Because I'm a tourist.
Yeah.
But in my own city, why the hell would I want to be downtown? All there is downtown, like at night, it's just drunk people yelling, a lot of teenagers. I want to slap everyone I see.
I don't know, man. There's something I like about the chaos and, you know, the people and the movement and I don't know. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I enjoy the peace and quiet that I have over here, right? But there's just something about the city that I miss.
I like being in the city. I love being around Park X. I love it because you're so close to everything.
Yeah, well, it's accessible to everything.
It's accessible to everything, but it's still a little neighborhood. You could walk around, go to the store, get something.
And it's changing a lot, Park X.
Yeah.
In the next maybe maximum 5 years, it won't be the Park X that we grew up in.
No, not already now.
It's already changed, but it's gonna grow exponentially. I think within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw these trends because, you know, it's where I worked, but and it's going to change a lot. It's going to become, you know, in French, la vie de quartier, you know, it's like that social little life where you have everything around you.
Too many hipsters, though.
But that's just, you know, demographics. You can't change that.
No.
You can't change that. And we saw that happening. I mean, we saw Villeray transforming. And if you take a walk into Villeray, it's like a new plateau.
It is, yeah.
And because the rents are going high, I mean, it's spilling over into Park Extension, and you know, there's a university campus coming now, so it's gonna grow and change so much. I think for the better.
I'm gonna go on record here, and I want to say there's only one premier neighborhood in Montreal. No, for real. Like if you had the choice and you could get a place that you like, there's one neighborhood that I think is the best neighborhood, and that's TMR.
The TMR, yeah.
TMR is the best area in Montreal. Number one,
it's the suburbs. It's the suburbs in the middle of the city.
In the middle of the city, it's insane.
Yeah.
I go to so many cities, they don't have that.
Nobody has that,
and it is a great place, right? But because of the prices, not many people are going to be like, I'm going to go buy a $4 million home, and it's not going to happen.
Ridiculous. And the houses are old. I remember when we bought this place. I don't even know why I was looking into TMR, but I think it was more out of curiosity.
Yeah, you just looked over the fence.
No, but there was nothing under like $1 million or like 800,000, and what you're getting for that price is like ridiculously like ugly.
Of course, because a lot of people haven't renovated, and all the nice ones are not for sale. The people,
and it's just a value because of where you are, right?
Exactly.
So, and I have friends in construction and telling me there's so much going on there. People just buy, destroy, and rebuild.
Yeah, I know people who have done that, yeah.
Because, I mean, it's so much more worth it, you know? But that's what it is. I agree with you. Yeah, TMR is by far the best place to... We knew this growing up in Park X. We're like...
Yeah, that's why we would go there and steal everything from them.
And we're like, what is that place behind that fence?
Yeah.
Covered, camouflage that nobody can see.
We weren't stealing things from Côte des Neiges. We were stealing things from TMR. We're stealing good things.
Oh my God.
Hockey nets and such. Because in the beginning, that's what they did. They used to leave all their stuff out. Because they're like,
it's safe,
is a suburb.
Right?
Yeah. Until we came along. Stop being safe really quick.
Hockey nets. Let's go.
They're just giving out free nets.
On the bike.
Yeah, exactly.
You're biking, carrying the net.
That's what it was. And then they got so fed up, they're like, no, we got to lock these kids out.
Yeah, let's, Halloween. No, put a lock on that.
Yeah.
Put a lock on that. But it is what it is. But no, Park X is going to change a lot, I think. But you still live there.
Yeah. Well, not for long. It depends where I end up now in the next couple of weeks. So by the time this comes out, I might not be there anymore. But I want to be nearby. That's my thing. Is I want to be, you know how I feel about this. Yeah. I want to be close to the city because I have so much. I have the podcast studio is in the city. Everything's in the city. But I'm not okay with like a long drive. So I can't be like, let's say Saint Leonard. They have some nice places I've seen. Yeah. It's too far.
But here's the thing though. And here's how I feel. If you don't have a regular 9-to-5 job, okay, like you, for example, you know, you work on your own schedule, you work for yourself. You don't really care where you are.
I have thought about it like this, right? But then I realized that's a selfish way to think because it's not just me. Let's say my girlfriend, for example.
Yeah.
She does do a 9-to-5, right? She's in accounting.
Yeah.
So I feel bad putting, you know what I mean? Imposing my
and I understand
way of ridiculous living on her. And also if I'm too, I don't know, I want to be nearby. I want to be able to, anytime you call me because you've decided to, you know, traverse the river and come and come to the city to be like, hey, let's go grab a coffee. I want to be able to get there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't like this whole, I'll be there in 45.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Because that's how I grew up. I grew up with everything kind of instant, even downtown. 15-minute bus ride if I didn't have a car.
Yeah.
It's not far.
Yeah.
So I haven't lived so far away. So to me, it's kind of alien. It's an alien idea. Even the States, they have this a lot. I go to different cities where my hotel will be in one place, and then let's say the comedy club or something will be somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I have like a 20-minute. What is it? How do people live like this? Like this looks like a town, but not really. This is a fake town. The real town starts in a half hour.
Yeah.
And it's strange. I don't like that.
I felt that when I went to Toronto the first time.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Where you're driving in Toronto and you're like, wow, man, downtown Toronto, this is amazing. And then half an hour later, you're in down, like, this is the downtown.
Yeah.
You're like, what was that back there? It's so developed. And people say, oh, yeah, I live in Toronto. But you're not living in Toronto.
No, Toronto's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah,
I love it. I love Toronto.
I didn't like it.
You don't?
I felt a lot of sadness where I was downtown.
Yeah.
I was near the Air Canada Center and those places.
Yeah.
A lot of poverty, a lot of homeless people.
But it's a big city, so it's kind of to be expected, right?
Yeah.
But as a city, I love it. It's like a mini New York.
You think? I'm trying to think what my problem was with it. I don't know. I mean, it had everything around that. The traffic I didn't like. There was way too much traffic.
But again, it's a big city.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't go to New York and say, what the hell is this traffic? What's going on over here?
But New York also has a very developed subway system.
They do, yeah. Toronto does. I haven't.
I mean, not like New York. But then again, New York also, I think you could get AIDS from the subway too. So like that's, what New York has that people don't talk about? There's a lot of people, but there's also a lot of ugly people. Like what I noticed when I was in New York is, because I have to go down there a lot, and there's a lot of unattractive people. Like there are millions of people. This is true. There's many of them, but most of them are goblins. Like in Montreal, we're less, but people are, I think statistically, on average, more good looking than any other city in North America.
I will tell you one thing Montreal has that I haven't seen. And of course, I haven't traveled much. I mean, but I've been to big cities. The liveliness in the city, you don't see it anywhere or in very few cities. And just to bring back Toronto, we had gone a couple of years ago with my wife, and it was a Saturday night, and it was dead, man. 1:30 in the morning, it was dead.
Yeah.
And we were like on Yonge Street. I mean, where everything's happening.
Because they close at 2.
I don't understand a city like that just dead on a Saturday night. And in Montreal, you can walk around on Tuesday, Wednesday night, Thursday night. There's always life in this city. Yeah. Always.
But I don't know, maybe it's because of the cold here. It's a bit weirder here in the winter just because of where we are.
Yeah.
And people are always looking for an outlet. I think it's also the European vibe.
There is. Yeah, definitely.
Mass immigration. So people just want to live a bit, just have fun. They don't take themselves too seriously. Prostitution, everybody turns their heads. They're like, oh, it's not really there.
It's cleaned up though, Montreal, a lot.
From when I was growing up, it has cleaned up. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Especially with the development of Griffintown. I remember coming.
That was a garbage neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, look, we would go out and we wouldn't go south of René Lévesque.
No, of course not. Never. Why? You want to get killed?
Yeah, it was too dark. Yeah. But now, I mean, it's a whole other area there.
Well, too dark. That's a bit, I mean, it was a black community, but, you don't have to put it like that. Like there was lights in the streets, dude.
Yeah. It wasn't.
Little Burgundy.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about 2018.
Yes. It's a good year.
Huge year. Tell me why this year was big for you.
It was big. I got to be just for laughs for the first time. So I started the year. I got that new podcast with Mike Ward, 2 Drink Minimum, which was doing really well. Mm-hmm. So I think the year kicked off in a bang with that when Mike asked me if I wanted to join him in that venture, and it was just a total shock.
How did that happen?
I met him. I was doing a show, and he came to do a spot. And I didn't know, I had seen him from time to time. I knew of him, obviously. And I was like, hi, bye. But we weren't friends. Like, people assumed that we knew each other. Mm-hmm. We didn't know each other well. He told me that he had heard of me before, but he hadn't seen me do stand-up or heard me talk. So he came in, and he had just been given an offer to do the show for Compound Media. Mm-hmm. And so he came in that like a day after he got that offer. He heard me talking backstage. Then we had a conversation. He saw me after I did my set. We said our goodbyes. Like we were there for like an hour talking with all the comics. I didn't think much of it. Mm-hmm. And then the next day I got a private message on Twitter from him. Okay. And he's like, hey, look, I got this offer. This podcast. Anthony Cumia, Opie and Anthony from those days. Do you know them? Of course I did. I loved those guys. I liked Howard Stern. I like all that stuff. Would you be interested in being my co-host? So I thought he was messing with me. I thought he was just playing games. Yeah. So I was like, don't fucking play games.
Because it comes out of nowhere, right?
Yeah. I was like, don't play games with me, Mike Ward. He's like, no, I'm not playing games with you. I really think that you'd be the right fit for this. I think. And then I questioned him because I was like, don't you have other big name comedian friends you could do this with? Yeah. And he's like, no, it's going to get boring. And if I bring in guests, there's not that many guests in Montreal. If this is going to work, I want to do it with you. I think it'll work with you. So I was like, fuck, why would he lie to me?
Yeah.
Unless he's trying to have sex with me, who knows? So I went on board. I said, all right, I'm in. So we looked over the contract. I went to he has a comedy club, the Bordel. We talked about it. We flew down to New York so they could announce it on the network. We went on the Anthony Cumia show. Everything kind of was happening fast. Like, I can't believe this is real life. This is actually happening. Then he was lucky too, because he told me he was happy that I already had a podcast studio. It's because we were thinking of how we should do it, where we should build all that. But I already had it. I was already set up because I was doing it for years, right? So that's where the whole the age old saying of build it and they'll come.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it came into play for me, because I was like, oh shit, I already have a studio, dude.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, this is perfect. And then we made I've made a couple of upgrades to the studio since then. So then after we announced it, it became kind of a big deal here because it was the first Canadian show on that network, right?
Yeah.
And then Just for Laughs wanted to have us do the show there in the summer. So we did it there. We brought guests. We brought Robert Kelly and Nick Swartzen, who we met just a few days prior, and we brought him on. We met him at the festival.
So this is summertime 2018, Just for Laughs. Huge deal.
So now we're summertime, and I got away with something pretty funny because I got to do the podcast, get my first Just for Laughs credit, but also I got to perform at Plaza Czar because Mike was doing his show in English, and he didn't want anybody else opening. He's like, you just do it. So it was good for me because I got to do the shows with him over there. So they had
no say. Mike said, okay, look, this guy's going to open for me. And
for that, they don't care because I was already part of the festival. I was already doing the
podcast.
I was already doing the podcast there. So it wasn't an issue.
Okay.
And they were, like, you hear a lot of stuff about Just for Laughs, but they were super professional, super nice. I haven't dealt, apart from like certain comedy clubs that are really good, like the Comedy Nest, I haven't dealt with that level of professionalism, like from beginning to end, the way they ran that.
Yeah.
Was excellent. I remember even the last day, this is the one thing that sticks with me. They know your whole schedule. They know where you're performing, what club, all that. So the last show that I had done there was the opening for Mike on the last performance that he had, the English one. And as soon as I got off stage, right before Mike goes on, there was a lady back with your check for the festival.
Yeah.
So she was right there already. It wasn't like she came out. She's like, oh, this is your last performance. Here you go, sign here, take it. Like, they had everything structured. So they knew where you were, what time you had to be there. Same thing with guests when you needed a guest to go pick him up. Or it was very, very professional.
Well, there's a reason why it's one of the biggest comedy festivals.
Yeah, they ran it. No, but we've had an issue recently with another comedy festival that just it went to hell. They didn't know, and it was much smaller and they couldn't manage it. But these guys, man, like Bruce Hills, they know what they're doing. I think they have it down to a science now.
But what do you think? I know, we're going to get back to the rest of the year now, but now that you bring it up, because I want to talk to you a little bit later on. But the comedy scene in Montreal, of course, everybody knows the Just for Laughs festival.
Yeah.
It's huge. There's bits on TV too there.
Yeah.
What do you think of the comedy scene in Montreal? I mean, compared to the other cities that you've been to, obviously you've been to New York, LA, where it's just, I would imagine, huge compared to what it is over here. Yet you're telling me that everything just runs clockwork.
Yeah, well, that's just for the festival.
Yeah,
not for the scene. The scene is very different. Like I mean, LA. I'm jealous of the culture in LA, the comedy culture. By that I mean, you'll go to the Comedy Store, and there's just fans of comedy talking to you, just being around. They know stuff about comedians that they're so random, like these facts, right? Yeah. The shows are constant, so they do like this gauntlet where you go up, you bring on the next guy, and there's always a revolving door. So in like the original room, people walk in, it'll be full, to be like, no, wait in the front. And then as soon as someone leaves, that seat's open now. You come in, because the shows run for hours. It's not like a 1.5 hour performance like here. They're hour, they start at, let's say 7, 8, 10, whatever they start, and they keep going on till the club closes. So there's always comics. They're doing their spots.
Yeah, wow.
And you could just jump in at a certain time. So you could come in around 9:30 and be like, I have an hour. I want to grab some drinks and enjoy the show. There's a seat. You sit there. You enjoy your portion of it. You leave, someone else. It's a different comedy culture they have there, where we don't have that at all here. It's not the same thing.
It's like going for a coffee but watching a show versus here, where it's more of a performance.
Here it's like, what you're getting. You go for an hour and a half. It's normally between an hour and an hour and a half performance. That's the best time for a comedy. And you go for the whole show. And that's, whereas there, it was so alien to me the first time I saw people coming in and leaving, and then other people just waiting. And normally you're nervous, like, oh, I'm going to miss the show. But then it's like, they're like, no, I might miss these 3 guys, but I want to see Bobby Lee. He's on in 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'll be there in time for him. Things like that.
Yeah.
And that's that culture I'm jealous of. I wish we had that here. That's interesting.
Why doesn't it exist here?
Smaller city. That's LA. Everyone's there. Smaller city, smaller names.
Yeah.
Like, how many big names in English live here and can run that every day and be. It can't happen. It's not that like we have a very good club, the Comedy Nest, which is now open 7 nights a week. They're open. They have show, but even they can't run a 5-hour show like and keep the quality up because it just doesn't exist here. We don't have that many comics. You could put every comedian on the scene here, and it won't fill up that kind of time slot.
But what about an effort to bring in? Like the same way that you go to LA, and obviously it makes sense you want to go there rather than having anyone come here. But is there any effort to bring in, foreign comedians?
Well, they do. Like I bring up the Comedy Nest because they're, I think, one of the best clubs in North America.
Yeah.
And they bring it like every weekend. It's a different headliner, and they're always international. So David's David Acker owns that club, and he's very good about bringing in top talent. So you have to have proper credits, late night credits. So he brings people that are on Conan, Last Comic Standing.
Oh.
So every weekend, the Montreal guys, the ones that he has working the weekend rotation, the professional ones, they're lucky they get to work with these international comics and they learn from them, So you always see, if you go to the Comedy Nest any weekend from Thursday to Saturday night, it's 5 shows, you're going to see a different comedian from that you've seen on TV.
Yeah.
So he does, that's good. But there's nothing here that'll keep someone for longer. Like when we go to LA, there's other reasons for it too. So I went to LA. I went to also do podcasts, or writing or meetings, agents. So there's another reason to go there. And then you just jump on. You call if you know people at the Comedy Store. We were lucky. Like Adam Egit was nice to us, and we knew him. He was booking. He's Norm Macdonald's friend, and he was the one booking.
Yeah.
So we got spots, but in general, there's no reason for someone to come. What kind of opportunity exists in Montreal for someone to come down here? Yeah. And then jump on stage at the Comedy Nest? It's not in New York, same thing. You go down there, you do serious, you do other stuff, and you jump on as a surprise guest at one of the comedy clubs, and it's fun.
It's too bad in a sense, because I'm sure there's many aspiring comedians like yourself, and the opportunities are just not there, right? Or if they are, they can't really exploit it to the maximum.
We get overlooked here. Even Just for Laughs is also guilty of that too. Just for Laughs is guilty of overlooking Montreal comics. That's
really
100% true. I've seen it in my time here, where they'll do the showcases, they'll do the, and I'm not saying that we have so much talent everybody should get in. Even if we only have one, even if there's one amazing comic that should be at Just for Laughs, it's rare that they'll get that spot. Whereas Toronto, they'll get a lot more. They'll get a lot more mediocre people on Just for Laughs, and here even like our best or our second best won't get on. It'll be very difficult. So I think it's because of the proximity. I think because it's here, it's always like, you don't see it as special. Yeah. Like, oh, he's here. He's this guy. You get used to him. So I think there's kind of that's happening, because there's really no other reason. We do have some really good comics, but everybody knows that Montreal gets overlooked. Even comedians from the States know it. Like I've spoken to a lot of comics. They'll be like, they'll come watch a friend of mine and be like, how come this guy's not Just for Laughs? Like my buddy X person, I don't want to name a lot of names, got it 2 years ago, from LA, and he's shit compared to that guy. I'm like, yeah, well, they see it differently. They see it completely differently. They don't look at us in the same light.
Wow. So 2008, Just for Laughs, Mike Ward, obviously the two big things.
So the year 2018. Yeah. We got Just for Laughs. That was huge. Then that whole week at Just for Laughs was something that should have been videotaped. It was just me and Mike bullying everyone into getting things done. It was hilarious. Like Mike was fighting at the same time with Gad Elmaleh and some other
I heard about
joke
that,
thieves. And fighting with Netflix at the time because he's like, why did you let this guy get his guy on, a Netflix special, giving him $15 million based a joke thief. Then that guy lost the Netflix deal because they got scared. And like all this stuff happened over the course of that festival, which was just ridiculous. So that was just amazing. And I thought that was it. I thought that was the peak of the year.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I end it perfectly, because my year, I always calculate like that. My year ends in July. My year ends when Just for Laughs ends.
Oh, okay.
And then I think of the new year, like what I'm going to do to succeed. Right. So I thought, okay, that's the pinnacle. 2018, it ends on a high. And it didn't. It just kept fucking snowballing.
I remember, sitting with you, I don't know, it was probably before Christmas, around November, and you were explaining to me a few things coming in 2018, and I just couldn't wait for these things to happen. Yeah. And, I didn't want to tell people. I think I told my wife, and I'm like, don't tell your mom, all right?
Just in case.
But yeah, Rogan.
Rogan, yeah. So Rogan was another crazy thing, because in November, when that happened, before that, so August was pretty calm. I wrote a lot. I sat back a bit. I took 3 days off, which is
whole 3
which
days.
is crazy for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm always doing something. And I thought about a lot of stuff. And then in September, we went back down to New York to do Anthony Cumia show. But then we also did Sirius XM. We did one of my radio heroes, Ron Bennington. I got to be on Ron Bennington's show. It was huge for me. We did Jim and Sam, which is I think one of the biggest Sirius XM shows at the time. So we're like, oh fuck, we're getting things done. We're going on bigger and bigger shows. Then the podcast was doing better and better. And then November came along, and early November, I I bullied my way into getting on Joe Rogan. At the end,
you told me the story. Do you want to? Can you share the story?
Yeah. I won't share too many details. I don't want to, attack people or embarrass you or anything like that. But it's just, long story short, me and Mike were already booked. We were going to LA at the end of that month, at the end of November, and we had podcasts lined up. We had spots at the Comedy Store, so we had a reason to be down there.
Yeah.
But then I noticed that the UFC was in New York, and Joe Rogan was on the network. He was doing the Anthony Cumia show.
Yeah.
So I messaged one of the producers, and I was like, "Hey, dude, are you there with Rogan right now? I just saw that tweet." He was like, "Yeah, of course he's here. He's doing the show." So I just thought about it. I go, "Hey, we're at the in LA. We're in his neighborhood in a couple of weeks. See if we can get on." So at first, like, "Oh no, I don't." So then I started like yelling at him. I go, "Don't fuck around." I said I was being really, really rude. You don't normally do that to a boss, right? Like you don't risk your job. But I thought, hey, it's the Hail Mary pass, right? So I bullied him to the point where he's like, no, I'm not scared of anything. I'll do it, So then he talked to Joe and said, hey, Mike and Pantelis have a show here. They'd like to come on, promote it, talk a bit. So I guess he took a look or whatever. He's like, yeah, for sure, bring him on. And we set up a date, which then we had to change because of Jake the Snake Roberts. So we went on a day after him. And we were already in the neighborhood, so we didn't mind. And that's it. Then we went there. We didn't really tell a lot of people. You knew. I kept it down low because not because of secrecy. Nobody told us to keep it a secret. We kept it because we didn't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
It's the biggest show.
Yeah.
For comedians, it's the biggest credit right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not late night. There's nothing in late night that compares to this. So it's him. So we just didn't want to jinx it. We didn't want to screw ourselves over. So then when I did it, this was the weird thing, is the messages when I was done, I kind of didn't realize the impact. I didn't realize how many people were watching and how many people were shocked because nobody knew.
Yeah.
So people were sitting down and watched Joe Rogan, people that knew me, and then they just saw my face and like, wait, what is happening right now? What is this? What's going on? Is this a joke? And I got a lot of messages, a lot of opportunities from that. And again, it just snowballed. Again, one thing led to another, and it just bam, 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 everything. It doesn't stop.
How much impact do you think? Because a lot of these things are happening after you started working with Mike, and obviously, I mean, he's a popular comic.
Well, for me, he was the catalyst. He was the huge. There's no way I could ever thank him enough or pay him back for just the opportunities he's given me. There's no way I can't do that. It's not because you can't measure it. Yeah. It's and it's stuff that if you ask him, he'll tell you like, it's just. His talent got him through. He did it. It's not, but it's him. It's him because he gave me the opportunity. Nobody else. I couldn't get these shots without him. Mm-hmm. So whether he wants to admit it or not, he's the one who he gave me the pass. It was I had to put it in, but he gave me the fucking pass.
And if you think of it, it just happened out of the blue. It's not as if you were working. It's not like you pinpoint him like, okay, Mike Ward. I gotta get close. I gotta get into his entourage.
I didn't know him. He didn't owe me anything. Yeah. He didn't know me from a hole in the wall. That's why I'm saying it's those thankless things. He didn't owe me anything. He didn't have to do any of this. Yeah. He could have got another comic, a more known comic, to do a show with, and then whatever. But he didn't want to. He's like, no, I like this guy. And then that's how he's one of my closest friends now. He understood before me because he's been doing this for years. Just hearing me talk. He's like, oh, this is my kind of guy, right? Whereas me, it took me a while, and then I realized, like, oh, fuck yeah, this guy's my kind of guy. Like, I realized after when we started hanging out, I was like, geez, I could have grown up with him. Like, because I'm closer with him now than a lot of people I grew up with. Because we see the world the same way. Yeah. We can make each other laugh, and there's never any ill will, or we think, oh, I offended him. It's impossible to offend each other when we're talking shit about each other.
But it's also funny that you're in the field that you're in, and having the fun that you're having, and just not caring. Yeah. And that's actually what's getting you paid. Yeah. You think that,
but it's weird. Not just not caring, because I put in. This better than everyone. I put in a lot of work, like behind the scenes. Yeah, like there's work for the podcast. There's work for everything. I put in a lot of work, and the reason why the podcast looks like, oh, they're just screwing around, they're having fun, is because we're happy, and I'm very happy because of all the work that went into it. Like it's not. If we would go in unprepared, and if we would go in not liking it, you'd feel it. Yeah. But because we like each other, we're having so much fun.
It comes out natural. It
comes out natural. So they're like, oh, these guys are having fun. I want to enjoy this. Yeah. If we were like a radio duo where they just put two random people. This guy's wacky and she's sassy.
Yeah.
Oh, listen to them at 4 a.m, you know? Then it would be garbage.
Yeah.
What did you do, Samantha? You know, I hate like terrestrial radio, what it's become. It's so formulaic and it's just them telling you the time 9 times in an hour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So Rogan happens. And you had also told me about Steven Crowder.
Yeah. So I forgot when I told you about Steven Crowder, but Steven Crowder I knew from, I didn't know that I was going to start writing for him, but we had done just a little thing, like Mike appeared on his show and I appeared via Skype, just for a little segment. It was just something brief. And then question came again, I think in the beginning of the year, of this year, 2019. They were looking for a writer. I think Owen Benjamin was on there and he wanted to leave or something had happened. And they were looking for a comedy writer, a stand-up. And Mike again stepped in and said, "Oh, this is your guy. It's Pantelis. Like, you're not going to find it. Like, this is the guy you need for this." So they were kind of like, I don't know. Let's check. And so I started writing for him. I started writing jokes. Then they flew me down there recently. And then they're the ones who told me, like, last time I was there, like, how right Mike was. They're like, you know, it's rare to have someone that, because I'm very quick. Like, you if you feed me something, I'll build something out for you. You know, so they'll be like, we need this. And then I'll be able to write a sketch for it. You know, and I'm very, and plus I don't really care so much what political spectrum you're on. Yeah. Right. If I can make fun of you, I will. Yeah. It's just how I like. This is how we grew up. We grew up just busting each other's balls. So I do it to everyone. But I did notice that being part of that crew, that I'm definitely politically more conservative than anything else. Yeah. Like if you have to narrow me down, if I would have to choose, I think I'm more, because I learned that there's 3 pillars apparently to conservatism, because I consider myself a libertarian. Okay. But apparently the 3 pillars are freedom of speech, which I don't back down on that. I believe everyone should have that. For sure. It's smaller government, you know, taxation is fucking theft. So definitely I'm for lower taxation. And I think the third one is pro-life, is abortion. Yeah. So my whole life I was pro-choice. Yeah. I didn't really care about it. I didn't know. Yeah. And then now the more I would study, the more I would learn. I'd be like, I think I'm leaning more towards these guys. It's also the people that, you know, you hang out with and the way they rub off on you. But most of the people I hang out with are really, really like left. They're left leaning. Yeah, but then again, I mean, very few people are actually informed. At least that's that's what I've learned. Yeah, that's what I got out of this whole, you know, political experience. That there's very few people that follow what's going on, and from the people that actually do follow, they don't really understand the information that is being sent to them. Whether it's the media not providing the right, you know, and I'm not here to bash the media. I think they're but they do play a huge part. They do play a big part, and the media, I think, you know, them, they also, I mean, lean to the left, right, center, whatever. So depending on, you know, what media you're listening to, the information comes out very differently. Yeah. So from the people that are actually interested in following what's going on, the information that comes to them is just so diverse that, you know, they don't know how to interpret it. Yeah. They don't know how to take it. And nobody, you know, makes the extra effort to actually research or look into what is being said either, right? So you're just listening to the 6 o'clock news, you know that by 7 o'clock you've absorbed whatever amount of information and that's it. You know what I mean? And that's the bit of information that they have. Yeah. So, I mean, that's one thing that I understood. And, but again, I mean, it depends on the people that are around you as well. And, you know, the information that they consume and the way that they share it as well. Right? Yeah, I have. I don't know if it's a unique point of view. I think everybody has their own. I think everybody's point of view is probably going to be unique on the political spectrum. But I know that for myself, it's every time I analyze something, that's when I realize that, okay, I either misunderstood something or, I really see things this way. Like I know with this past year, just getting into arguments with people over politics, over things that I want, that's when I realized, like, no, maybe I'm not voting the right way. Because, like, for example, I voted for Trudeau. Yeah. And not because he likes to play dress up or all that. This and that. Good for him. But just politically and the things he's doing economically, I realized that I don't agree with that. You know, at the very, so for example, just the way we're taxed, right? I was like, no, I don't feel like this current system of taxation is done properly. I feel like you're punishing people for succeeding. Yeah. You don't want to incentivize people to do better. Yeah. And you're making it hard for people to live. So like this whole, I grew up with the myth of, I always thought like minimum wage should be higher, right? Give people more spending money. And then I realized that was a game that politicians would play. I only realized that this year because, of course, they want to tell people that they'll force companies to pay you more because they're just going to tax you more. So at the end of the day, that more money isn't really coming back to your pocket. They're going to make a little more. You're going to end up with the same, if not less, depending on what bracket you fall under, right? So the real goal would have been to lower taxation to make government more efficient. You don't need 9 people doing the same job, right? Make government more efficient, smaller, lower taxation. You have more money to spend on things. You can feed your family. And by them paying you less or not paying you more, the company would prosper more. Everybody would prosper more if taxation doesn't take that much of a cut. Or because I don't mean so we don't use it for social programs, but you use it more responsibly. We don't just throw money into the wind. And the only when I started realizing that that's how I feel, we should be more responsible with our money. We should that didn't fit into the Liberal Party, for example. Even though my whole life that's where I've been, I'm like, oh, that doesn't fit in at all with what I believe.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, look, again, it comes down to how informed you are and what really matters to people in politics.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that nobody ever reads election platforms.
You're right.
Nobody reads platforms.
You're right.
So there's a trend that happens, and you're either hop on or you're not on. You know what I mean? And if there's one thing that Justin has succeeded is, first of all, he's a very charismatic person, right?
Cult of personality, yeah.
And the guy, if there's one thing you got to give him credit. First of all, he revamped that whole party where people had completely lost trust because of previous things that had happened. And it just, I don't want to call it a cult, but the support that this guy created across Canada is just phenomenal, right?
He's a charismatic, good-looking dude.
And you know what? Look, it
felt fresh,
but it plays a huge role in politics.
Yeah, perception is reality.
So you're like, wow, this guy's popular because people follow trends, right? Yeah. They're not going to sit and read a 300-page platform and analyze it and question it, and nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Yeah,
and that's what probably happened to you.
It happened to me big time. It happened to me. I fell for it, and then now. But the thing is, there isn't really anyone that falls 100%. That's the other thing I try to tell people to stay away from when it comes to politics. Do not fall in line as if it's an actual cult and whatever your party leader says or does, you have to agree with. No, you're a human being. You're going to differ on things. I don't agree 100% with things that I think full-time, or things that I thought a year ago.
Yeah.
So how can it be possible for me to agree 100% with whatever you decide today?
And that's the other thing too. There's no way that you can please 100%.
You can't.
You can't.
Just try to do your best. So I do think that the way we're going about things, he's more of, and the whole party right now, the way it's built, is structured more around the facade. Let's look like we're the best option. Let's look like we care about people. We're very inclusive, this and that. But we're not really helping Canada. That's the facade. Well, look, but then you don't have anyone else, because I look at the Conservatives.
Yeah.
The facade is a piece of plywood. Like that guy Scheer has zero charisma.
Yeah.
They'll say some good things, but then they'll say things and you're like, what are you? It was 1924. What are you talking about? It's just, or same thing with when you go NDP or really extreme left. They'll make promises that they can't keep.
Yeah.
They're impossible. Like everybody's just going to get money.
But then again, sometimes that works.
Yeah, because people don't think.
No. And if you look at what happened in the last Quebec elections, where the equivalent to the NDP, which is a radical left party, they just promised the world, and people just oh, okay, cool, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. People don't understand. They don't take the time to actually study what is being proposed. And look, it's politics, and that's what it is.
Yeah, it's games that I think part of the problem is that we don't, and you went through the same school system I did. We don't properly educate kids here when they're in high school about life. Like the one thing they should teach kids here, because it's a complicated system we have, should be about taxes, how they get taxed, how they fucking file their taxes, politics, what each platform means, what it stands for. Because if you just think that whatever they tell you is going to be done. So you think the government has endless money. They promise you get a paycheck no matter what you do. Of course you're going to vote for that. You're like, that's crazy. I don't have to do anything. Yeah. But that's not reality. Reality, I don't want to be paid for not contributing. I want to contribute. I just want to make sure that when I contribute, I don't get screwed over for it. So if I'm the one contributing, I've never worked in government. You know this. I've never worked in it. My whole life, it's me. I've been working, whether it was odd jobs, career, I work. How does it make sense for all of my efforts, half of them, to be taken away by the government, and then they decide that with that half, they're going to screw up 50% of that 50%, right? And that's why there's still things that aren't working, and then I have to pay for it in the end again. Yeah. It's crazy.
See, look, the counter argument is that in terms of social programs, I think Canada is probably located in the top
We
countries.
are. We're very,
and I mean,
but it's not saying much because the world is small to us when we look around. Right, the world is small. We think, oh, it's huge. Like we're at the top, but who are we competing against?
Yeah,
we're only 35 million people. It's not a lot.
No,
we don't have the same problems the States faces. We haven't faced real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's easy to be like, I'm a provider. I have a castle. When you have one person to provide for example. But try that with 10 people.
Yeah.
Your method might not work. You know, we got to think things through.
No, I understand.
So I don't feel like we're doing, and I'm not blaming anyone. I think I'm responsible. You're responsible. I think as a country, we need to come together and be like, okay, this whole vote and hope for the best thing might not be the best scenario.
I just want to go back to the education thing that you said. And because I know that now a lot of schools are adopting some changes, for example, for, financial literacy. How do you organize yourself financially?
Yeah.
The whole
That's
thing.
Great.
Like you say, and I think it's fantastic. But in terms of, to educate kids, like for example, on policy or on politics, you can't do that, first of all, in elementary or in high school.
In high school, I would think just something. Just let them know, hey, by the way, this is what this means. This is what that means.
I think the interest level is very low. And
that's
then,
true.
It's low for people that aren't in school.
Yeah.
Imagine, so you can't do that there. And then when you reach CEGEP, for example, in university, the kids or the students are mature enough to say, you know what, screw this shit. It's not interesting to me.
But you know what happens then?
So you fall kind of in the gap where, okay, where do you kind of insert this?
I would think it should be the last year of high school. I'll tell you why. Because the second you move up in academia, like I know in university here, at least it's huge ideological pushes. Like,
oh yeah,
it's all super regressive leftist ideology that's in schools. I remember I went through it when I was in Concordia, and I was a little shocked. I was like, wait a second, why are they pushing like Marxist ideas? Like, what was this guy saying?
Look, to be honest with you, yes, academia tends to drift a little bit to the left, but I had right-wing teachers.
You're older than me too, though.
Yeah.
You're older than me too. You went to school, and back when, because I remember even being in high school when I had left and right. It was easier to see things. But when I got to university, I remember nearly 95% of everybody. I don't remember somebody leaning towards the middle. Everyone was left and far left. A lot of them were really, really far left, and you get consumed in it, right? I remember I was getting shocked. I was thinking like none of this stuff makes sense. Like the arguments weren't even making sense.
Yeah.
I was like, how is this a thing? This can't be. And then I realized these are 40-year-old people, 50-year-old people who their entire lives never worked a real job. They were in academia, they were in school, and they continued being teacher assistant. They continued to become teachers or whatever. So a lot of these people, what they did. Their whole school they were taking, their whole life they were taking. They didn't get used to contributing. So you can't tell somebody who's 50 now you have to contribute. That's why we have that problem here where there's a lot of 45-year-olds who their excuse is, hey man, I'm still a student, because they don't have the mentality of no. At some point, you need to contribute something to society.
But look, I'll tell you what I've noticed, and maybe this existed and I just was unaware of it because I really didn't care when I was studying. And I've seen it now, at least in the last 11 years. There's a lot of engagement from the students. They're organized. There's student committees. Of course, the politics are obviously there. There's student associations that are, liberal, conservative, whatever. They're involved in the school, and you have a lot of these students just engaged, right? They organize different seminars. All these things. And there's a huge political engagement coming out of universities. Maybe it was the case back when I was there and I didn't know it, but at least now I see it all the time.
I see it all the time too, but I see no substance. And the example I'll give you is the second you go away from the left, you're automatically just called a Nazi. You're called the worst thing, which is funny because it's also, if you think about it, it's a socialist party, so it would have been a far left party, but technically it falls into right the way we're looking at things now. But there's no actual dialogue. So if you tell someone, well, I think it's kind of a bad idea to tax someone on 50% of their wages, it's a little unreasonable. Then they'll be like, oh, so you don't care about social programs? You think about eugenics? That's what Nazis do.
I don't know.
And it's absurd, but that's what happens now. That's the political landscape. That's what it's turned into, especially in schools. They try to shut down, even as comics. Like a lot of comics don't want to do colleges anymore because people take things out of context.
Yeah.
So they'll think a joke is real. They'll take me saying something funny on stage as I hate a specific group. Like if I say something about Greeks, and I'm Greek and I'll make a joke about Greeks, there's people who are not Greek who have come up to me and been like, it's a little offensive to Greeks. I have the joke about smoking the breakfast. And I'm like, what? I'm the Greek. You're not. How can you come here and tell me that I might offend my people when my people are the ones laughing about it because they get the joke? That's what jokes are.
Yeah.
You know? So these buffoons are also involved in the political discussion.
Yeah.
And all they say is, if you don't agree with me, you're evil.
Look, I'll tell you one thing, and probably because...
See how I turned this into a political discussion because I got you.
It's fine.
We have to take advantage of this podcast.
Look, for me, it's a bit complicated because I wasn't involved as a student as politically I was like for the last 11 years. So it's very difficult for me to compare what it was when I was in school and what it is now.
Yeah.
What I appreciate, and forget about the discourse, whether it's too left or too right or too center. And I understand that in academia they tend to drift a little bit to the left, but at least there's a discussion. You understand? And
it's not really a discussion.
Well, look, there's an interest. You know what I mean? And when you see
agree with what I say or you're a piece of shit is not a discussion.
No, look, I've been in panels. I've been invited to different speaking engagements where I've actually noticed youngsters, 16, 17, 18, 20, whatever. And they're actually interested. Regardless of what they're saying and whether I agree with it or not, they're there, man. And they're actually interested. They're following what's going on. Now, I would love to have a bigger portion of the population actually doing what they're doing.
Get informed.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And forget about, if their opinion matches mine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. Because you need people that don't match, because you're going to see things differently. Like I said, I've been able to change the way I see things for government, because of discussing people and but that doesn't. They're right.
And I'm going to tell you one thing. Yeah. And this is obviously one-sided because that's the government that I worked for. There's so many conventions that our party organized where most of the people interacting and exchanging and actually are youngsters.
Really?
Yeah. And
in the Liberal Party.
Well, I don't want to generalize it. At least the ones that I've been to. Of course, you look at the room and there's a lot of old people, and you're obviously the party needs to get younger. You know what I mean? But then, you open up a topic of discussion and it's up for debate or whatever, where they're debating, and you have just a series of youngsters just taking the space and, expressing their opinion.
This is good.
I think it's fantastic.
It's huge. That's where we need to get to.
And again, I don't know if this existed when I was there because I didn't care about politics. I studied politics because it was interesting to me, but I never for a second thought that I was going to be working or be involved in politics ever. For me, it just happened. So I don't know how that scene was back in the day. So I'm seeing this, I've been seeing this for the last 11 years, and I think it's encouraging. Now, knowing how I transferred my mindset when I was in university and where it is now, I think, they're probably going to live through that same thing, right? So, I mean, you're talking to an 18-year-old kid who obviously doesn't have the life experience that you have or the knowledge or whatever. And yeah, he's just, regurgitating whatever his professor was talking about. Yeah. And that's fine. At least he has an opinion or whatever he thinks it's, it's not.
He's repeating someone's opinion.
But that's fine. But at least he's there. He's not going to be like, bro, I don't care. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, the apathy might be worse. Exactly. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
So, and eventually with time, who knows? He's going to get a job. He's going to work. He's going to live through things. And things are going to look at you. I mean, you changed because you started working. You have your own business. You started, you're interested in taxation. You're like, what the hell's going on here with entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
So you've transferred a little bit the way you think of these things. And look,
I'm interested in that a lot. And I'm interested a lot in revamping social programs because I feel like I don't want social programs to go away. I don't like the idea of full, no government. I don't like that. I think social programs need to exist because we need to help the people who cannot work, who cannot, you know what I mean? Yeah. We need to have that. Just that, and this from working in government. I don't know what the reasons are. There are many. We're not really that efficient. There's a lot of wasteful, and it's normally from dumb decisions, but there's a lot of wasteful spending. There's a lot of, maybe we should revamp this. Like I remember when you were in politics, and that was the time when you guys wanted to change the policy. What was it on welfare or on not being able to work?
Social welfare.
Social welfare and being able to prove a couple times that you're at least looking for work.
Yeah.
And then that became an issue.
It was horrible.
How do you? What do you think? How can you force someone to get a job? That to me is crazy. That's like you're taking, because then there's people who really do need that money.
Yeah.
I need to give that money to people who need it. I can't give it to you who decided I'm 22 and I'd rather have the government pay my rent. I need to help people that need it.
Well, this I think it's always going to exist.
It's an efficiency thing.
I think it's always going to exist. The minute that there's a government in place that offers these social programs, you're always going to have the debate on who deserves it more than someone else, right? And because of politics, whoever comes up with a decision, whatever that decision may be, you're always going to have opposition.
Mine isn't even for deserving. I believe everyone I think it's more of attributing it to the ones that need it. I don't think it's like, I don't think.
No, absolutely. But then
Yeah.
how do you justify who needs it more than someone else?
Right.
You know, I think everybody would agree with you that we should have these programs because people that need it. Okay, cool. Who needs it?
The people
And that's where
the people who are willing to work but can't, sick, for children. I don't think there should be children in this country that go to school hungry. Things like that. I think things that we can all agree on, right?
And there's a lot of this thing happening.
Which then when I say this, you know what the crazy problem is about, and you've seen this in politics.
Yeah.
So when I say things like this, people who are more on the right get mad at me. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I find insane.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll say other things and people on the left. That's why I'm saying it's very hard to close someone in politically when they start thinking about things, because none of these political parties match you.
Yeah.
Because I believe we should have social programs. I don't like the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, this is what it is. What I said before, that you can't satisfy 100% of the people.
Yeah.
And you're never gonna get someone to agree with you 100%.
Never. Yeah.
Or this, I mean.
I could get them to disagree with me 100%. Trust me, I'm
Look,
good at that.
there's a middle ground that you're gonna find, and this is what I loved about politics, because even within your own party, there's
debates.
There's debates,
Yeah.
right? And there's opposing ideas, and at the end of the day, you have to make, you have to decide. And even there, I mean, you're not going to have everyone on your side, but you just have to jump on board and say, look, this is what we decided, and then let's go with it, right? The results that it has varies, but at the same time, trying to find that perfect system, I think it's impossible.
Do you think we're in Canada? This is just for you, since you know this. Do you think government's gone a little too big? Like I don't like the fact that Stats Canada was able to go into a Canadian bank account, see that information.
Yeah.
I respect privacy.
Mhm.
I don't like the fact that the government, because the government is supposed to be a branch that's working for the people.
Yeah.
The boss is supposed to be you,
Mhm.
and the government is supposed to be kind of your employee as a citizen. And something changed in the last 50, 60 years. And it turned the other way. People are scared of the government. The government is in charge, and you're just here working, and they'll take some of your wages. Which the shift happened. It's a little crazy to me. And the fact that the government could go out there and say things like when Stats Canada, when Trudeau wanted to give them the rights to look at people's bank accounts, see how much they make and all that.
Yeah.
I think that should have been, people should have gone crazy for that. Be like, whoa, wait a second. No, we don't give you that authority. We're going to decide what powers we want to give you. We do not. We need to respect a certain level of privacy and respect of people, right? So things like that. Do you feel like it's just that the government slowly is getting a little bit bigger? Because we might get to the point where our debates won't matter if we've worked ourselves into a corner where we don't have the same type of rights.
Yeah. Look, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You don't think it got big?
I think that the more information that they get, logically, right? The idea behind that is for them to kind of come up with the best sort of policy to give back to its people. Look, what they're doing with this information, and I understand that with the census and everything with Stats Canada, but I think at the same time people aren't dumb, right? I mean, you're electing at the end of the day, like you said, you're the one that has. You're the one holding the power. If you're not happy with something, do something about it, right? And for me, I mean, the last government that we had, economically, Quebec hasn't seen better years.
Yeah, of course.
And yet they lost the last election.
Yeah,
you understand? So for some reason, there's something that people thought, you know what, we don't like this, and they stood up for it, and they made their voices heard. So I don't know how to really answer that question. I'm on the camp that. Let's just get the information so we can know what people want,
right?
And that way we'll know what to offer.
But like the Stats Canada thing, if you remember, there was uproar. People did not want their personal information to be exposed that way, and yet they still did it. That's what I mean by the government getting bigger. Is when they get to the point where they do what they did, where people say no, and they're like, we're gonna do it. To me, it's crazy because. Even kids growing up now, they see government a different way. Even adults think that, the government, you should never, if we're scared of the government, there's a problem.
Yeah.
There's a problem, and that's what's happening. It's not just here. The States is the same thing.
I don't think we're there to the point where we're afraid of the government. I've seen things happen in politics that have me convinced that you're not in control of anything, buddy. You know what I mean? You can never take anything for granted. I think that we're lucky enough to be living in a country or in a province where literally the people still have.
In this province, especially, I think people do have more control than in others.
It's the same thing across
people
Canada.
Are kind of uppity.
It's the same thing across Canada. I just think that the public service in Quebec is huge. There's a huge, but in terms of government spending,
I don't like it.
And I agree with you there. I mean, there's ways to do things differently, and it's funny because on the podcast I'm going to have a friend of mine who Nectar. I don't know if you've met him, who works. He has a consulting firm, and he basically tries to get these companies to redirect their strategy on how to grow. And he told me the biggest problem is government. Yeah. They're so behind on how they should be doing things that. That could have a bad effect. I mean, when you have companies just progressing, and that's their job, right? Their job is to just consult with them and tell them, okay, what you're doing wrong, and here's what you got to do right. His idea is that I don't want to say industry, but the one field that is really behind is government.
Of course.
Yeah. So there's a lot of work left to be done, I think. But, at the end of the day.
I'm sorry to take you in this political route. It's just because I have you, and
it's okay.
You're my liaison to politics.
Yeah.
So I like.
No, but it's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind. I like talking. Obviously, I did. I've been working.
This is the backstage of politics.
This is the backstage of politics. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, look. Considering what's going on everywhere else in the world, sometimes you look back and you're like, thank God we're here.
Oh, of course. That's the one thing I hope I get.
And it's easy to complain, to think, fuck, man, this place, man, fuck these.
Yeah, I'm complaining specifically.
Half of my money gone. Yeah. But then again, and you'll eventually notice this when you have kids where, you take them to daycare and there's, you're paying whatever, $6 a day. Good luck finding another province or another country that can offer that.
Well, it better be $6 a day if they're taking half your money. Because you're looking at it in a weird way. Because like I said, let's say for healthcare, for example, right?
Yeah.
So we have.
Well, it's not 6. It's more
but you know what I mean.
Or whatever, yeah.
Like if you're telling me right now that I'm going to take, I'm supposed to make $50 an hour, but I'll keep 25. And it'll cost me, I don't know, $20 for daycare. Yeah. And I'm left with 5. But if I was making 40 of, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't keeping that much, then the difference might be minimal if I would pay for it myself, So it's not a question of we get all these things for cheap. None of it is free.
Yeah.
Unless you're not working, then everything's free. But if you're working, you're paying for everything.
But that's also the biggest misconception, I think. And I don't want to forget about Canada because
that everything's free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nothing is free. Nothing is free.
That's what I keep telling people.
You know what I mean? So the challenge I think that government has is that for example, in Quebec, when you have $100 billion budget to make your year, and out of that $100 billion budget, you have close to half of it going to the health system. Right. And then that year after year, there's new technology, there's new equipment, there's all these things happening that you're going to have to keep updating these things. And the costs are obviously going to start going up. And people don't understand that. People are like, yeah, free Medicare, let's do it. Yeah, but someone has to pay that. Yeah.
Can't tell you my idea. You tell me if you think if it makes sense or if it's stupid. I think that we need to open up a bit, and we've already done in Quebec, open up the window for privatized healthcare.
Yeah.
Not fully, because, we still have the system. It exists. Like said, now we start to have that half and half, but it should get a little bit. And again, this is where I go back to the taxation thing. So I believe that there should be a way where you could kind of work out the system where maybe if the taxation was a little bit less and I would spend that difference on paying for healthcare, let's say insurance, right? My own personal insurance, take a strain off the public sector. When I need to, because I have insurance, I could go to the private sector. I'm already paying for insurance from the difference, and balance it out. Because right now there's a huge strain because most people don't. The health insurance is the government insurance. So we have nobody's paying. It's rare that you'll find in the grand scheme of things in Quebec that you find people paying for private healthcare.
No, it exists. It exists.
It's getting bigger and bigger, but it doesn't. It's not, the private healthcare exists, but not people paying for their own insurance. It's much.
No, that doesn't.
Much
exist.
rarer. Yeah.
No, but see, look, this is where the big debate is happening, especially here in Quebec, because first of all. Healthcare is free. We have universal healthcare.
Yeah.
And then you have the private sector, which arguably has relieved a lot of the stress from the public system. And the big debate is if there's money being invested in the private sector, then the public sector is just gonna crumble crumble to the point where, in the sense that
people might have to wait 8 hours for a headache.
Not only that, is that your good doctor, he's going to wake up one morning and say, wait a minute, why am I here and I'm not in that hospital where I'll be paid much more? So if that transition happens, then your poor citizen that can afford the private sector is going to go to the public hospital, or what kind of service is he going to get?
Right. Well, right now, you know that the service isn't great in the public sector. You know, like if we're being honest, it's not
the hospital. You mean?
Yeah, it's hit or miss.
Look, I've seen good things and I've seen bad things. You know what I mean? And I don't want to name the hospitals.
No, it's not about slandering a hospital.
No, exactly.
Because they are working with the budgets and the restraints that they have.
Exactly.
And it's not easy.
But there are some hospitals that are managing these funds spectacularly to the point where you walk in the hospital and you're like, wow, you know?
In the West Island?
No, not in the West Island. But it exists. So the argument from the government side is that, listen, if that particular hospital can do it, then what is the problem? Right?
Well, some hospitals don't have the same strain day to day that others do. Like if you go to like the Jewish, I think, but the Jewish General, I think does
that's the one that I was referring to.
Yeah.
For me, it's like the top hospital.
Yeah.
It's the best.
It does a great job. Yeah.
And they cover one of the biggest areas.
Yeah.
So, at some point.
They're very efficient.
Of course. But so how are they doing it and the other ones aren't? And they have much bigger traffic in that hospital than, I don't know, in the West Island.
But they also have a lot of, it's not just government funding. They have a lot of people that donate.
Of course.
They're because if you're talking, I've been to the private one on Rockland.
Yeah.
And I've only been there once. And I was like, the money was obviously was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was $500 just to go see somebody once. But
the results are
instant, and I've never seen anything like that in terms of hospitals. So I do think that you need to kind of incentivize that. But like I said, I want to keep an open window because I need people that can't afford it to get the same help. We live in a country where we could do that. We have to do that.
It's a very difficult balance, right?
Yeah.
And that same debate happens between public and private schools, and why should the government be funding a portion of the private sector? But the health sector is much more delicate
and much more important.
I think so, but it's delicate in the sense where if you have public funds going into the private sector, then the argument of universal healthcare is
mute.
Exactly.
I don't agree with that. I don't.
And that's where you have the federal guys coming in and saying, wait a second. And even though health is a provincial jurisdiction, because you're in Canada and we have health, universal healthcare, they come in and step on your toes and say, wait a minute, you can't do that because we have universal healthcare. So what are you doing? Why are you transferring the funds that we're giving you to the private sector when it should be going to...
Why do that? Because I don't agree with that they should do that. I believe, especially because the private sector, I see it as a business.
Yeah.
So an efficient business, right, grows. It has its own expenses. Maybe in forms of a tax cut to help them grow, that's a different story. But to actually allocate medical funds to the private sector, the way we're set up government-wise, the fact that we're supposed to have... that to me, you're correct, is ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy.
Well, look, there were, and I could be wrong, but there were efforts to kind of support the private sector because they were relieving the public sector. So some surgeries they were taken up by the private sectors. In the last 4 years, they did the super clinics, which basically, it's owned privately, but it's a consortium of.
Are they owned privately? The super hospital?
Not the super hospital. They're super clinics. So basically, there's a bunch of criteria that you need to have to qualify, and the government comes in and they support you more on an administrative level, right? Pay staff, some equipment and everything. But the idea is that we're going to get a bunch of family doctors together. We're going to call it a super clinic. This is how much money you get to support that kind of project. And the clinics are open 12, 13 hours a day, 7 days a week. So in the end, you're getting much more people out of your hospital because they don't need to be there clogging up the emergency rooms and all that stuff. And you're providing a space where, yes, it's owned privately, but the public is kind of facilitating it because it helps them out in the end, right? Yeah. So, and I think it was a fantastic project, and it's not because it's
a good argument, though,
and it's not because I worked in that government, but the fact that the biggest problem is that nobody has a family doctor today. So something happens to you, you end up in the emergency room, and you don't need to be there. So you're taking up space. You're clogging up the system. So the fact that these clinics existed, where you can just walk in at no appointment, be seen by a doctor, and automatically acquire a family doctor. So,
that's amazing.
It's amazing. So there's these kind of programs and these strategies that why not support that, right? Because at the end, you're benefiting.
You're benefiting. That's a very good argument. That's a good example.
So there's stuff like this. But look, politics comes into play, and that's the bad thing. That I've always hated about politics, because I've never been like a super partisan guy. Where
who gives a shit?
You know what I mean? I just want the right thing to be done, and
exactly.
So you should be able to acknowledge the good things that people have done, and obviously the bad things. Well, you profit from that to kind of bash your your opponents.
Oh, in politics, you mean?
Yeah. I don't know
because the citizen doesn't give a fuck. Like, I don't care who screwed up. I care about you fixing it. You know what I mean? Like, as a citizen, sometimes you'll see people that are very partisan, and they'll just be like, "Oh, they're bad. They're criminals or whatever."
Yeah.
But I don't care. Even now, what's happening with the government, fix it.
Yeah.
And what's happening with Trudeau now, that whole scandal or this and that, I don't think there's another leader that could have been in power that would have done anything differently. No. And I love to make fun of Trudeau, but how can you have done something differently?
Well, look, see, this is the situation. This particular.
How can you have done something differently?
This is like what's it called? Whatever. I'm trying to think of an expression, but it's not coming. But whatever he would have done in this situation, and we're talking about the SNC Lavalin thing, you would have been slammed anyway.
You would have been, yeah.
You sit back and you watch this company close its headquarters and lose 9,000 jobs or 4,000 in Quebec alone. You're getting destroyed, and it's an election year for you, by the way. You try to get involved to try to save the situation, and they're yelling obstruction of justice.
Which, know what I mean? Here's what's crazy is my buddy, he's a comedian, Abba, from Abba and Preach. They have a big YouTube channel. He said the best thing about this. He goes, because what he did is technically wrong to obstruct justice, but he said he was using the dark, he was using the dark side of the force to do good, which is true. And you're like, fuck, can you not see things that way? Like, sometimes you need to do an unorthodox thing to help the greater good.
But then again, you come down to the communications aspect, and this
they did not communicate properly.
This is what I think. This is where I think they failed. But at the same time, look, man, it's very easy now to look back and say what should have been done. Right? You don't know.
But my thing is, it seems like the problem is, personally, with Trudeau. And you don't have to agree with me because I know you know the guy, but I feel like a lot of his charisma is fake in the sense that it's written speech, because he regurgitates his own talking points without thinking.
Look,
so when he was asked about the $35,000 prostitution bill, he already had an answer in place in his head before the question was asked, and he didn't hear the question. So when he responds to, "You're supposed to be woke. Why would you, why would they spend $35,000 on prostitutes?" And he says, "Because I need to protect the high-paying jobs." That sounds like you think prostitutes are the high-paying jobs in Canada, because you were ready with an answer. You didn't think. You didn't take in the question.
We're coming back to a whole communications thing, and
bit of a doof when he does things like that.
Look, I think that's where they failed a little bit, and especially in this particular file, where he should have taken a much bigger role as a leader. I would have come out on the attack and accused my adversaries of not caring for jobs and for headquarters that we need to preserve in Canada. Trying to hide the information because you think it's just going to disappear.
But
that's a very common reflex, right, in politics, because the window is whatever, not even 24 hours. It goes in the media, your 6 o'clock news or your 11 o'clock news, and you're placing the bet that by tomorrow it's gone. It's, or in 2 days, nobody was even going to think about that. There's other things coming up. But this was so big to the point where, you had cabinet ministers resigning, and it was just a big mess. You should have thought about all this, and you should have just thought about your communications a little bit better. But frankly, in this particular file, I really don't think that the guy did anything wrong, and I think he did what pretty much
anybody would have done.
Your citizens expect you to do, right? Step up. You're the leader. We're about to lose 9,000 jobs. Get involved. Of course, respect the law, right?
But
they're in court, but there's provisions in the law that allow for your attorney general,
your involvement
to come in and say, look, this is a public policy issue, and we need to protect it. And the company and its employees cannot be. They can't take the fall for something that the top execs did whatever number of years ago, and who are in the process of being accused, or they're waiting for their court hearing,
extradited to Guantanamo.
So And
I
again,
agree with you. I agree 100%. Like I said, I like to. I don't believe
but
in this whole partisan.
it all comes down to communications. It could have been managed, I think, much better. But then again, look,
if he was smart, they would have hired me. I would have wrote the speech.
Yeah, but again, I think that it's also a little bit ridiculous to look back and say, "Oh, this is what you should have done." Now that we've seen how the situation has evolved, right? Yeah. So it's very touchy. And look, for me, honestly, this is one of the nicest parts about my job because this is what I loved about politics. Okay, how do we react?
Embarrassing Trudeau?
No, not embarrassing Trudeau. But whatever the situation is, okay, how do we react? How do we,
how do we spin this?
It's a big word in politics.
Yeah.
How do we spin this,
Well, he could have easily been like, he could have just went on that type of like, what do you mean? You tell me you don't like prostitutes? And then have him raise his arms.
Deserves fair treatment.
Just have him raise his arms inside Parliament and be like, who here doesn't like prostitutes? And then see how that goes.
Oh my God. But I mean,
all right, let's get back on track because I feel like I've derailed you.
No, but
for my own personal political gain.
No, but I follow you, man, and you're very political as well. So I mean, I kind of expected to kind of draw a tangent like this. But tell me something. You were in Toronto recently. Something about Netflix.
Oh yeah. So what was I doing in Toronto? So my buddy. So last year I also, because I forget a lot that happens in the year, but I met. I don't know if you ever watched this new Netflix show called Umbrella Academy.
No.
So my buddy Robert Sheehan is on that. I met him last year at the Comedy Club at the Comedy Nest.
Okay.
So essentially what happened is he's an actor. He's in that new Peter Jackson film Mortal Engines. He was in Misfits. He's been acting for a while. And Umbrella Academy just came out, and it's huge. It's like Netflix's biggest show. It's a superhero show, and he has a really good part in that. So he's one of the main heroes. And so I met him last year at a comedy club. Again, it's one of those things of just time and chance, I guess. He approached me after the show, and he has a thick Irish accent, and he told me how much he liked my set, and he hated everyone else on stage. So I laughed at that. And then I realized that I knew his face. I was like, don't I know you from somewhere? Don't I know you from Misfits? So we got talking. He was going back to Toronto the day after to continue shooting the Umbrella Academy, but I think Mary J. Blige was like a couple of days late, so he had a day off, so he came to Montreal to experience it. And I told him, too bad you're leaving. If I knew you were around for longer, I would have brought you on my podcast. And then he's like, oh, you have a podcast, Pantelis? I was like, yeah. He's like, fuck it, let's do it now. So we went like 2 a.m, grabbed some beers, opened up the studio, and started recording. And then I got that on tape. It was a good podcast at the time. And I didn't think much of it. We kept in contact. We were talking. Then he approached me about one of my jokes that I said on stage, and to maybe write a show about that. But we didn't speak about it for a while. He was busy. I was busy. We're doing our own thing. Then this comes out. Umbrella Academy comes out. It's huge. But before it came out, he invited me to go to the premiere in Toronto to meet with him and watch the premiere of the show a day before it comes out for everyone on Netflix. And the goal was, when he contacted me, to go down there and we start writing, because now he's serious about making that show based on that joke. But what ended up happening is when I went down there, we did the premiere, we saw that it was fantastic. And then we went out, we hung out, we spent the rest of the weekend just putting down our ideas for the show. The show evolved from what started as my joke to something so crazy and wacky, but hilarious, right? So now I'm in the process of writing that. And we don't I know that he wants, we write it and we'll get Netflix to do it and we do it. I don't know where it's going to end up or when it's going to happen, because the problem with these things is it could take time. Yeah. I could be done in a year because I'm super busy too. But the point is, that's another fantastic thing that I'm working on right now. And I like putting my writing chops and I like writing for someone else because I know the way he talks and the way he acts. Right. So I'm writing his character specifically for him.
So this is a complete different show that has nothing to do with the Umbrella.
Nothing to do at all. Just he liked one of my jokes. He thought it would be good to make a show based on that. Yeah. And then as we're writing, he makes me laugh, I make him laugh, and little jokes come out of it. And we're like, no, fuck it, let's go this route. And it turned, like, when it all comes out and you see the show and you see where it started from, there's no way you can make that connection. It's completely different. Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. Yeah. Honestly, the fact that that you've evolved. And again, this is going back to what we were saying. People think that, what's going on, man? It's like you just appeared on the scene and finally all these things are happening. I mean, there's so much work involved behind the scenes, man.
There's so much yelling about politics in between.
That's okay. If it can inspire you to grow, then blame it on the politics. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your process. I mean, how do you go through? How do you write your stuff? A lot of your comedy, and you mentioned it before, is very personal. It's very anecdotal. Is this the realm of comedy that you're most comfortable in? I mean, do you see yourself doing something else?
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because writing. Here's the thing: is getting living is just getting the stories, right? Just my life and talking about people I grew up with or things like that.
That's like your main inspiration, basically just observing.
But turning that into a joke on stage, that's the issue.
Mhm.
That's the creative process. So a lot of funny things happen to everyone every
Mhm.
day. To translate that to a joke that works with a hidden punchline, you have the setup and then you sneak in a punchline, maybe you add a tag. That's where the skill comes in. And that's also what drives you crazy. Because sometimes you have a really good story and you can't turn it into a good joke.
Mhm.
And I had that with a joke of mine now that I've been trying to do for 6 months, a certain joke that is a great story, a real life story, but I couldn't for the life of me get it to work on stage.
Yeah.
And then the last month, I finally got the pieces together.
Yeah.
I finally get it to work on stage.
Yeah.
And every time I've been doing it now the last 4 weeks, change little things and it
Yeah.
works better. And it works, oh, now it didn't work as good. So I got to put this back in. And that little tweaking and that process of it is, it's frustrating, but so rewarding when it works.
Yeah.
Like when you see all your hard work on a joke, because that's what a joke is. I think if I was a restaurant owner, it would be a meal. It would be, that perfecting that meal.
Yeah.
The only shitty thing is that once I perfect that full hour and I record it, I have to get rid of that amazing food and start fresh.
I was going to ask you about that because,
Yeah.
There's been so much evolution, especially with social media. Everyone has a camera now. And especially for you, it must suck that, you work so hard on a bit, you perform it, it goes well. And then you're like, okay, everybody knows it now.
Yeah.
How much can I repeat it? You know what I mean?
How much can I stretch this out? So for me, it's a problem now because some of my strongest things I haven't gotten on tape yet, but I've done a lot around. So I want to, at the end of the summer, record special or whatever the fuck I want to call it. But I think about an hour I want to do and get rid of everything, do all that, do everything I've been doing for the last 2 years that I haven't recorded, all my new stuff, get it on tape and then start fresh again. It's always motivating. But I do have that issue when I go on stage. I'm like, oh, have they seen this? Have they heard it? And then when it's not filmed, I'll say something that I think everybody's heard and everyone laughs like they haven't heard it. So I'm like, okay, maybe I haven't performed in front of that many people in this city.
Yeah.
That's why you got to go to different cities, by the way. That's always fun when people have never heard any of your stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to force yourself to evolve. So my trick is this summer, film everything I have. I have no choice after. Once it's out in public, I can't go perform a set that you've already seen. It's not going to be funny for you. You know the punchlines. So it forces you to write new stuff. So, but a joke is also it's hard to let go of a joke because a joke is never really ready ever. It's never like fully ready because you can always tweak it. Every time you go on stage, you say something a little different, you change something, you see what works. So sometimes it's hard to let go of a joke that works.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't want to be that boring guy that just has the same content.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You can't be. That's why you can't be. So you force yourself in different ways. I know people who, I know it's hacky, but they've been doing the same jokes for 10 years. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because you see the stuff I talk about, right? Like politics, current events. I'll talk about Trump.
You have to. Yeah.
So I have to. I can't use the same joke I was using 10 years ago. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I have to keep evolving. So the trick is for me is my end is the tape. Once it's recorded and it's out there, publicly available.
Yeah.
Then I have no choice. So even if I want to do the same jokes, I can't because nobody's going to hire me to do something they can see for free.
Well, also the fact that you're working and collaborating with all these different people now, it gets you much more exposed than you would normally be on a regular basis if you were just to perform here in Montreal.
Oh,
you can just keep repeating the same thing. The fact that there's all these people in your life now and, you're on YouTube, people are following you, you have so much exposure, you have no choice but to keep growing. Which is a good thing, I think.
It's a good thing. It pushes you to do stuff that you didn't think you could do. Like you see on YouTube, we started that news show with Phil last year, and it took a couple of months. Now it's finally hitting its stride. Now we're getting subscribers, views. But it took work. It took a lot of setup.
It's consistency also, right? How many things have you started and then you're just like, whatever, let's move on. And it's what you said about the podcasting. Yeah. People didn't know that behind where you are now. It was like 10 years of podcasting.
Yeah, they didn't know.
For you to perfect, your comfort zone and the way you speak and, how to, come in and out of the topics and everything. It's an art form, I think.
And I had someone, it's funny that you bring that up. Someone that we both know actually, but I had a conversation with her at a cafe, probably the summer of 2017, I want to say. And she was kind of almost grilling me on podcasting. Like, well, what a waste of time. What are you doing? what's this and what's the point? And I was trying to explain to her like, no, it's, it's monetized and, there's this and there's ads. And it's like, but how can that even work? And what is and kind of trying to tell me that I'm a bit of an idiot for doing it, but not in those words. And I was a little taken aback. I go, but I'm explaining to her that there's money in this, that there's it, but she just wouldn't listen. And then not a year goes by. It was about 6-7 months where like 2 Drink Minimum picked up and all that. And it was like one of the first people that I wanted to see and be like, you see, stupid, you just got to work at it. You just have to put the elbow grease in. Nothing works out in the beginning. Like you have to, everything, there's work in everything, right? Even a marriage, you don't just sit there and it works, right? You got to work at it. You got to make sacrifices. So everything, you put in the work, you reap the rewards, unless the government comes in and takes half of those rewards.
But here's what I enjoy about you, particularly the fact that obviously you're doing what you love. And you've created, podcast, all these series and everything. And it's what we were saying before. It feels like the flow is so natural because it's, you're in your element and you're just doing what you love. And, people are watching and they're like, this guy's just having the time of his life. Right. But behind the scenes, there's this whole thing happening where, we got to think about monetization. We got to think, okay, exposure. What's next? Who do we collaborate with? Yeah. How can we tap onto that clientele? And who, there's so many things.
There's the business mind. I mean, people don't know, but already just for 2 Drink Minimum, me and Mike already have, there's stuff that we're already working on for the next couple of months that people don't know about. Yeah. Even little things like graphics, for example, there's new graphics to the show that I created. They're not public yet because we're waiting for a reason to switch the feel of the show and all that. But all that stuff's being done behind, and these are little things, little tweaks. Yeah. There's constant work being done. My business, because for so many years I worked in, developing mobile apps and working with teams, having to organize teams. So that organization is always in the back of my head. That business mind is always working. So I'm always thinking a couple of steps ahead. I'm always trying to innovate before I have to innovate, or I adapt. Like my whole podcast setup, we're ready to go live now. If ever we wanted, we could go live with 3 simultaneous cameras, just like Joe Rogan does. Yeah. I have that setup right now. We're ready. We don't need it right now, but it's ready for when we do. I have that ready. And the way I did it is I adapted techniques that people were using for streaming video games. Yeah. I stole their techniques. I took the techniques that they were using for that. And I was like, wait, I could adapt this to what I'm doing, right? For a much lower cost than an actual studio with a TriCaster. We don't have to invest that much. Yeah. So I took techniques that were working for other people that need to do similar work. I adapted them. I made the changes that I needed. And now it works for us, So I find ways I'm very resourceful. I find ways to get the shit done that needs to get done.
So tell me what the end goal is. Obviously, comedy is the thing. You want to continue growing that, but it just seems that this other stuff that you're working on, the podcast and YouTube and all that, it's taken off. Is it always going to be one complementing the other, or are you going to transition to just, we'll just be doing the podcast because it's easier or whatever? What's the strategy? What's the goal here?
That's my life goal. I don't know, start a family. You throw a lot of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. So I love both podcasting and stand-up. I love them both. Different kinds of love, like women in your life, you meet different women along the way and you love them all differently. But that's what it is. It really is that it's a different type of love. So I think stand-up is kind of my natural, in a sense, love, because it's that easy, go up there and execute, just talk and see, but podcasting, it kind of has that feel too. I have that same, I just don't get the instant reaction, or that's the one thing about stand-up that makes it addictive. Is if something works, if something's funny, right away. Yeah. It's not the same with podcasting. You say stuff in podcasting that you don't even realize is going to be controversial. Mm-hmm. And then a day later, you have to explain yourself on Twitter. So it's true. It's just how it is. So that delay makes it feel different, but they're kind of in the same vein of you sharing yourself with the public. Yeah. Just that instant. But I'd like to be able to do both now with the whole writing. So, I'm writing for comics. For comedians, right? People that don't even know I'm writing for other shows. So there's a lot of stuff. Like I had my buddy called me the other day. Milton.
Yeah. How's he doing?
He's doing well. He lives in the States now, but something funny happened with him. So we were just talking comedy on the phone, and he mentioned how, oh, you know who I find funny, who I really like? He's like, that Steven Crowder guy. He's like, that guy is really funny. I go, oh yeah, you've been watching him, you find him really funny? He's like, yeah, I find his stuff funny. I go, yeah, that's because you find me funny. I get him. I'm the one writing.
I write that shit.
Yeah. But it was just it was such a funny moment, just to have him being like, yeah, you do still have the same sense of humor because you're talking to the guy that you didn't know was on that show, was writing on that show when you were talking to him. So I like that little element of surprise. Plus, I have my other friends that like Abba and Preach. We're doing a lot of sketches now, so I get to exercise and a lot of different passions that I have. I don't like acting, but I do it because I have to. But like for sketches and things like that, I don't. You know how people are like, oh, I love acting, and like my buddy Robert Sheehan loves acting. He understands it. He has a method to it. He's something else. You could have a documentary just on the way he thinks and the way he sees acting. Yeah. And I respect that because that's how I see comedy. Yeah. But for acting, like I never had a dream of being famous. I don't care about fame. So I don't care about being in front of the camera. I care about being happy. If I could live doing something that makes me happy, which is what I'm doing now, then I've won at life. I'm victorious. So I think if your goal is something that makes you happy and it's not to make other people happy in contrast to making people happy by default because you're happy. Yeah. So stand up, that's what it is. I'm happy because you're happy and I'm happy and we're laughing, we're sharing a good moment. I love it.
And you're feeding off each other also.
Yeah, but it's not about being, because a lot of people ask me this about fame and stuff. Like I'm not famous now. I don't think I'm going to be, famous in a grand sense. I don't think I'm going to be famous because I don't search for it and I don't want it. I would never want to be like people see you and they stop you in the street and that's not a way to live. Like I love my life. I like being able to go to the cafe. People yell at me. People are comfortable telling me to go fuck myself. I love that. I don't want to lose that. I love that. I never. Yeah.
But just to go back into the comedy scene, how often does it happen where, I mean, you're obviously much more comfortable now on scene than you were when you were starting. Are you asking
if I bomb?
Have you ever?
Oh, of course. I bombed last week. Yeah. Well, everybody bombed. It was a shit show. But so I knew going in, so I was headlining. I was the last one. So I got to see impending doom. I got to see all my friends bomb before me and know that I'm going to bomb.
This is what I'm walking into right now.
And them telling me and them laughing because they're like, and you're closing. So you have to do more time than we do. So have fun, buddy. So, yeah, you bomb, but there's different. Most of the time you bomb because of you. Like people who blame the audience all the time. It's not. More than half the time it's you. Like it's rare that it's the audience. Like a lot of times it's you, but it does happen. I have been like the one on Saturday. The audience did not look like they wanted to be there. They didn't laugh at anyone. It's as if we forced them to be there.
Well, it's kind of strange that every single comic that went before you kind of bombed, and then you're like, come on.
So the guy that put on that show, he was even like, oh, it happens like once every because they put that show on I think once a month or something. It's like it happens once in a while where we get these people that come in. And I guess they're coming in for the food. They don't know their stand. Like I don't know what the fuck it is. So then I got it. What I did is I got into an argument with some people in the front because my jokes weren't hitting. They didn't want to listen to jokes. Yeah. So there was these girls from San Francisco and they were super, super anti-Trump and this and that. So I figured I'd play on that. Yeah. So I started complimenting Trump, knowing it'll bother them. And they started to freak out. He's a racist. I go, come on. You guys did the Women's March. He got you guys all out of the kitchen. He got you walking, got you some fresh air. He did good. So just things that I knew would bother them, right? Yeah. So, and then that made the comedians laugh. That made other people laugh because they saw what I was doing. They're like, he's saying things to bother you. It's not. He doesn't believe what he's saying things just to bother you.
How often does it happen that you need to adapt that way because your stuff is either not connecting with the people or, well, I don't want to say that your material sucks, but sometimes, like you said,
sometimes your material could suck or your material could suck for a room. So I've been very, very lucky that I think the advantage of talking about yourself and talking about your life is that the material's rarely the problem. Like I don't know, unless I'm talking to a room full of Japanese people that don't speak English, but in general, people understand what I'm saying. So they're like, oh, I feel what I haven't had that exact scenario, but I have friends like that. I know what he means. So I don't have that much trouble connecting with people. Though it does happen sometimes that people that don't get irony or don't get sarcasm, it goes over their head. And those kind of people I'll lose. But in general, no, I have good time. I have good sets. I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh, I have trouble. I'm bombing. It's not true. I have a lot of fun on stage. People like to laugh with me. But I do get those people that they'll meet me after the show and they'll say things that I think are insane. They'll be like, so you're misogynistic or you're racist? And like, wow, you understood nothing of what I just said.
Like overanalyzing. Dude, it's a joke,
Dude, it's a joke. And not just as a joke. If you listen to, you have to understand that when I make fun of something, it might not be like there's sarcasm in a lot of stuff I say, and I do it on purpose. Like whether one guy came to tell me about how I should be nicer to my nephew because I was making fun of my nephew on stage, and I was saying what kind of garbage kid he was, and then I let him know that like I'm the best on, like I love these, but it's a joke. It's a joke. It's about parenting. It's
crazy how people understand it. And it's funny that you're working with Mike Ward, because everyone that knows him knows how controversial it got.
But they overdo it with him, and not just with that case in specific that he had to go to the Human Rights Tribunal, which is ridiculous in itself. But when we did the Joe Rogan Experience, listen to how crazy the Quebec media is. So Joe Rogan Experience, just so we're all on the same page. Joe Rogan, he has the biggest show on the planet. It's the biggest podcast on the planet. Okay, it's a huge deal. The first Montreal comedian to be on there was me. The first comedian from Quebec City to be on there was Mike Ward. Okay. Instead of us celebrating that, what happens? We're out of the studio. We're out of Joe Rogan's studio for 10 minutes. The phones are ablaze. All the papers are picking up. Mike Ward supports the Hells Angels. He says they're great guys. So I get a message from my cousin a day later in Alberta, a photo of one of their newspapers, National Post, wherever they get there, with Joe Rogan, Mike Ward, and me like this in the background that says, Mike Ward went on Joe Rogan and supports the hell. Like, what were they talking about? That was one story where he talked about when people looked out for him that he didn't know. In what was that, 3-4 hour interview? Come on, guys. Like, that's insane. Instead of acknowledging what just happened, which is insane, that kid from Park X, Mike Ward, went down and were on Joe Rogan. Never acknowledging that, how big that is. Just saying this guy loves the Hells Angels. He says they're good people. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
So, but he doesn't take it the way he would have before. Now it's all like, because he went through a tough time.
Well, for sure. I mean, after everything that happened to him, you obviously take a hit, right? I mean,
he was depressed. He's spoken about this before. It was a very bad time that he had. He's spoken about it on the show too, and I'm going to interview him on my podcast soon just to get all the details so people out there know what went on during that time. But it wasn't easy for him. It was very bad. People were sending him death threats. People wanted to kill him. It wasn't what people think. So now though, the good thing is that's why I like being around Mike, because I think he gets some of that Park X Greek energy of fuck him. I think that rubs off on him a bit, because it's just how we feel now. We're like, fuck. They'll say, if somebody wants to say bad things about you, they're gonna say them. If somebody wants to think something bad, if somebody wishes, they're gonna do it anyway. I can't change your mind. Like I'm gonna do what I do.
It's very difficult though to create that hard shell where these personal attacks will just bounce right off you, right?
For me, it's easy. You know why? Growing up, the worst insults anybody ever gave me was my best friends. Like the people who were the meanest to me were my friends. It's just how we were, right? We were very. So there's nothing you could tell me that is going to hurt my feelings. Yeah,
but see, look, it's very different because they're your friends and because you know each other.
But that's what makes it.
But it's not hurtful. But
that's what makes it personal. So if a stranger could tell me things that are 10 times worse, I'll be like, I don't care.
You don't care.
People that I know have told me worse things than this.
But when it reaches a point where the media is after you, like you open a newspaper and you're there, you turn on the radio and they're talking about you.
But they do it only to get a reaction. So for Mike, what's interesting is like in the Journal de Montréal, they always, even though I'm with him, I do a lot of stuff, they always avoid me because everybody for some reason assumes that I don't speak French. So they're not going to get a reaction. So they don't talk about it.
Yeah, but there's nothing really that you've done that would
but I mean,
affect
they don't. So, because I always tell him, Mike, like, I don't care. He's like, yeah, but you don't speak French. So they're never going to, unless the second they figure out, like when I do Mike's French show and they figure out I do French, he goes, then they're going to try to say that, oh, he said this, it's racist, just to piss you off. But because they won't write about you. He goes, they won't write about you even if because they think you don't. So that means that they're doing it for a reaction.
Yeah.
Because if they were doing it for the news, they would report on the news, right? They would have said, things that won't get a reaction, or things that won't get a reaction from me because I don't speak. But Pantelis said this on Joe Rogan, or Pantelis said this with Mike, because we said some pretty crazy shit in English. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because they know I could give two fucks, and they think I don't speak the language, which to me is crazy because I was born here. I'm fluent.
Yeah.
So, but I'm waiting for the day where they say something stupid or I say something stupid and it comes out there, just to reiterate to everyone that I could care fucking less.
Yeah.
Because they have no bearing on you unless you let them.
But it was a big issue also though. But I remember he was getting a lot of support, especially from his peers, right? And you would expect naturally for them to support him because it's such a huge issue where you're trying to, shut people up for a joke, man. You know what I mean?
It's more than that. It's also blown out of context. The details surrounding it are also a little. That kid was not That kid got harassed by people because he says, "Oh, I got harassed by people."
Yeah.
He only got harassed by people after they went to sue Mike Ward, and people that Mike didn't put up, but people who saw the case were like, "What? Human right? This is stupid." And then they attacked him online. When the joke came out, it was a joke on stage. It was a joke in a special. It came, it went.
Yeah.
People didn't reach out to the kid for comment.
Yeah.
It was years later when his mother decided we could probably milk this, make some money.
Yeah.
And then the kid came out. And then last summer he performs at the Rockfest with his new shit song of I Don't Care. I don't care what they said about me. I'm a gangster. I don't give a fuck. And then now, as soon as the courts go back in action, I care deeply. I'm under a lot of depression. You know what I noticed that this kid's a fucker is a few months ago, right before he went, because he's in the Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
Right before he was saying all this stuff, I don't care, whatever. A few days before they went to court, he went on Twitter, started shitting on everyone in Quebec, this and that. So people attacked him. I even told him to go fuck himself. He deletes his account. He closes the account and then goes to court and says, "Look what people tell me online." He shows the harassment, but he didn't show that he shit on everyone. He said, "I don't give a fuck about you people." He attacked everyone so he could get reactions online and then go and say, "Look at what they're doing to me online." That's crazy. That's like punching you in the face and then showing a video of you choking me.
Whatever the case is, I just think that it's really stretched to a point where like it shouldn't have reached.
No, it shouldn't. It's complete lunacy. Nowhere else in the world would this have. Well, maybe other places. I mean, that's why the States. That's the one thing they have. The U.S. is the only country in the world that actually values and respects freedom of speech. Huge. People don't understand that. I need you to be allowed to tell me bad things. I need you to be allowed to criticize me. I need that, even if I don't like it. We have to allow that discourse to take place. You got to be able to make fun of me. Everything up to the point of trying to get people to kill me. If you start saying we need to kill this person, that's the limit.
Well, obviously, yeah.
That's the limit. But anything before that, calling me stupid, making fun of me, ugly, or whatever, whether I like it or not, I need you to have that right because I need to have that right. We need to all respect that.
I'm curious to know if there's any precedent on what's happening.
No, he's going to set the precedent.
Yeah.
This is going to be. That's why he said, even though it cost so much and it was devastating at the time when it happened, he needs to see it through to the end because if he doesn't, it's going to set
many would have followed.
So many would have. Yeah, people. You saw that guy in Vancouver, an open micer who made fun of two lesbians in the crowd.
Oh yeah.
An open micer who's forced to pay. I don't know how many. He has no money. He's an open micer. For joke, and they're the ones. It was
a lesbian thing, I think.
Well, they were heckling him.
Okay.
And then he made fun of them.
Yeah.
And then they sued him. This is Canada. It's insane. You're the ones heckling. What do you think is going to happen at a comedy show if you heckle the comic?
Yeah.
And you fell on an open micer. Shit, imagine falling on me or on Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, your girlfriend will get she'll break up with you right there. Be like, I can't hang out with this embarrassment. Just got ruined in front of people. You know?
Talk to me a little bit. You mentioned about doing the French show. How comfortable were you at?
I didn't do his French podcast yet. I'm going to do it soon.
You're going to do it. Yeah. You're only doing it in English. Are you thinking of doing French?
No. There's a lot of money in French comedy, but I don't do it. And people, so Mike's fans, it's funny because Mike's fans mostly comment on this and say, how come Pantelis is doing it in French? It's not fair that he does it in English. Why are the Americans getting it? He's from here. Yeah. We should get the jokes. So that's, which is flattering. But the only reason, I've done French comedy once on a bet. So I went to an open mic and French to do it. And they had fun with me. They laughed. I think the accent made them laugh a lot because I have a thick accent. The only reason I don't is because even though I get the sense of humor and I could laugh at it, like I'll watch Mike stuff. I understand. I was born here. I get it. My jokes, or rather my sense of humor, the way I say things works so much better in this Americanized Anglo-American stand-up.
I don't think so, man. I think it's just the way your brain processes the way that you express the joke. But I think if you were more accustomed to like the French,
but there's a lot of money to be made on the French scene.
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, you're in Quebec, right?
Stupid money. I'm not even joking.
Yeah,
ridiculous money to me in the French scene. Like that is a successful scene. Like even the way they take care of their comics, even the French side of the festival.
Well, there's a lot of French comics that are making a lot of money. Martin Matt.
They're very and they're good. They have
Louis Joseph Hood. What's his name? Hood.
Yeah, I don't know them all. Like Mike tries to show me a lot of them. He's like, oh, this is this person. This is, he tries. So I don't know a lot of them, but I've met, like at the comedy club, at his club, I've met a lot of, and they're super nice people. And they love comedy. They're super supportive. I mean, a lot of them were even supportive of me, just because I was with Mike.
Yeah. Before
they had heard me speak and just, so it's a healthy scene. It's a good scene. There's money to be made in that scene.
This is the Le Bordel?
Yeah, which is phenomenal club. I wish that they were doing it in English. that would be a nice to have 2 clubs here that would do English. That would be amazing.
So how does that contrast? I mean, between the English clubs and the French clubs. I mean, is there an advantage one over the other in
No,
Quebec?
because it's 2 completely different sets of people that will go to them. So now the good thing is about the Comedy Nest is where it's at the Forum. All these new condos, all the demographic
super
shifted.
development down there. Yeah, yeah.
It's all young people that come in. I've noticed a change because I started doing open mics there before I was doing weekends, right? So I got to see the evolution of the crowd getting younger and younger, which is fucking insane to see that.
Yeah.
To see what jokes are working, what you have to shift. And now I could talk about very contemporary things.
But I'm curious, going back to the French comics, I mean, are they restricted primarily to Quebec? Can they potentially grow further? I mean, does anybody
go to France sometimes, but they get their jokes stolen. Sugar Sammy? Mm-hmm. So Sammy took over France, which is amazing. We're fucking so proud of him. I talked to him about this last time. Just, he went down there and he had that extra... He had that American charisma, the stuff that we have here, like not giving a fuck.
See, he managed to transition his comedy for the French public.
He's still himself. He basically, instead of him changing and being like, okay, I'm going to do what they like, he said, this is why I'm fucking popular.
No, for sure.
They went to him. And also the way he is, even that show that he does like a Francis Got Talent or whatever.
Yeah.
He's the Simon Cowell of that show. Yeah. He's the bad guy on that show. Yeah. And he loves it. and the thing is, you can't hide talent. Like, he's very, very talented, and him and Joey Elias are the 2 guys that are very, very good at crowd work, like insane, like next level crowd work.
Yeah.
And they have like a Rolodex in their head, like they're very good at crowd work. So Sammy goes there. He's very good at it's not because they do a lot of performances. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a play, but you're performing as one person. That's what a lot of their stand-ups do there in France. So he goes there with this stand-up mentality, with his fucking on the spot. It's not a performance. It's I'll talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he changes the game up on them. And he won. He was voted #1 comic in France last year.
Yeah, he got it.
And he's from here.
Yeah.
So it was super. That's what I'm saying. When me and Mike were taking over the States, like we were doing bigger things and that, he was taking over. It's Montreal is sharing a lot of that. There's even Eurovision now, the Greek representative of Eurovision.
Yeah, she's from here.
She's from here. It's a girl I went to school with.
She was in your grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. I think a lot of people from here are doing big things.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's just because I was curious to see how both those cultures.
They have a comedy culture there of theft, sadly.
No, not in France. I'm talking about here. With Mike Ward's club, and obviously it's much more exposed to French comics. But more curious to know
they're the best audience.
Yeah,
they're the best audience.
But where do these comics end up? I mean, this is what's curious to me, because you're an English comic, and you're in the back of your mind, you're like, okay, look, the US, huge market.
It's not even the US. Like, me and Mike are very much looking at the US a lot. That's why a lot of stuff that we're doing. However, it depends what you want to do. So,
like, I'm just looking at the comic. And the growth and the potential that they have.
Yeah.
The French comic versus the Anglophone comic here in Quebec. What are the potential? I mean, you can't just think just France. I mean, is that what it is?
Well, it depends what you mean by potential, because there's a lot of French-speaking countries, but you could live a very good life if you're a good French comic by doing Quebec and France. If you would just do that, you could do a very good life, do your podcast. You can have a TV show here. You can do a lot.
Yeah.
Because that's the world, right? That's your world. And you could do very successful. The fans are very good. The French fans are knowledgeable about comedy. They're knowledgeable about American comedy too. So they know, right? They don't accept hacks. And they're very good audiences. The only audiences that are comparable to the French Canadian audiences here are black audiences, like American black audiences.
Yeah.
Like, they're the only comparable ones.
In what sense? Like, they're very welcoming.
They're very welcoming. They're both like the good thing about a black audience is if you're funny or not, like, right away. But they let you know it. They let you feel it. Like, you feel the love. You feel the. Where some other, it's weird. It comes up to black audience versus, but that's the truth. They're a better audience.
Yeah,
they won't sit on their hands. They're gonna express the laughter. It's very European. It's just like Greeks. They'll express it. They won't be shy to laugh.
Yeah,
they won't be like, oh, I can't laugh in front of these people. They don't give a fuck. Yeah. Which is amazing. That's what you want in comedy. You want people who are happy, comfortable. And the French scene has that. The French scene here is just like that. I've seen shows that it's just regular shows. Comics go on to 10 minutes, and they're exploding with every comic. They're showing their love. They're showing their support. They get every joke. They wait for the. It's
and this challenge for you is not something that's interesting for you. You don't want to explore. You don't want to see how you can evolve in that kind of environment.
Maybe someday, but I'm doing so much now at once. It would be because if I do it, I want to do it properly. I don't want to just take my set, translate it, and do it. I want to do stuff specific for the French scene.
Yeah.
So if I do it at some point, it'll be, I'll have to pour my heart into it and really work hard at it. Right now, between 2 podcasts, This Just Thing, writing for different comedians, writing for shows, there's so much to traveling. There's so much work. I don't want to half-ass it if I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's close it up, man. What are we expecting? What are you excited about? What's this year? Obviously, you don't know what's going on.
I don't know anymore. Everything just keeps happening. It's just all I know is that I'm ready for the ride. Right now, I'm committed to the projects that I'm working on. So we have the podcast, the shows I'm writing on. I probably have another couple of trips to go down to Texas to work with Crowder down there for his stuff. We are going to change some things around. I think we're going to be flying to a different city once a month and doing podcasts from, like, let's say LA, Atlanta, New York,
nice,
just to get different comics to come on 2 Drink Minimum. But in general, just that I want to do my stand up, grow, film the special at the end of the summer, and have people enjoy it. And hopefully, I hope that everything I've said, and I hope that if one person gets motivated and says, "Oh shit, I could do this," or anything, even if it's something unrelated. Like, I thought I could be a painter, but then I thought I couldn't. Now I listened to this idiot. I could be a painter. I could do whatever. I hope so. I hope I can motivate someone.
Well, it's definitely something to look forward to, man. And I'll be following you for sure. You know that I'm a big fan. I've always been.
You're the biggest.
I'm going to continue to be a fan because you're a funny guy, and honestly, I'm super excited to see that you're evolving, that you're growing, and good things are happening. And I appreciate your time coming here.
Thank you for having me, George. This is a great podcast. I can't wait to subscribe.
You're officially the first guy.
I know, it's amazing. Oh, why? Are they all women?
Eh?
Are they all women?
No, I meant the first person.
Oh, the first people kind.
Yeah,
nice.
This is your episode 1, man.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm number 1. The thing is, nobody could ever match up to this. They could have better episodes, but they're never going to be number 1.
Exactly. This is the standard. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks.